All right, now we're going to get to the more advanced leg work where we have the step ups, or sometimes called step downs. So notice that I've repositioned this chair. It's next to a wall. This is unnecessary if you have handles on your chair. You can put the chair anywhere you want. The handles give a significant safety margin. However, if you lack the handles on the chair and you only have a chair that is handle-less, you can still do these exercises. You just need something solid like a wall in order to give you safety. Now, here's the thing. You may be thinking, wait a second, if that's so important, then why don't I buy a chair with handles right off the bat? Remember that chairs with handles are significantly more expensive. So therefore, if you think about the amount of exercises that you're going to do with a chair, there's not that many that require the use of handles. So if you want to be a little bit more economical and you say, you know what? Yes, I realize doing dips and doing certain exercises with the step-ups, they require the chair, but you know what? I'm going to do a lot of other things and I can get some of that in other pieces of equipment, then that may be one reason why you may not want to have a chair with handles and incur that expense. Now, I want you to realize one little thing when you're using a wall for this particular exercise. Please do not make the mistake of putting the chair too close to the wall. Here's what will happen. Let's just say you put this chair right up against the wall and it's snuggled in. Then, if you get onto the chair, what can happen is that your head hits the wall. So, if I push this pedal down, I step up here, and I come up. As I come up, I could smash my head up against the wall. Now, if I stay upright, I understand. You can avoid the wall. However, it's very common for people to get up here and immediately get driven into this wall. And it's not so much that that might be the injury factor. It's the fact that if you just knock the head, you weren't expecting that, you lose your balance from this position and you could fall off the chair. And that could be the route of injury. So therefore, you want to minimize that. So here's where experience comes in. If you realize that that's what happens, you just want to set your chair up away from the wall to start with. So I'm going to stand right here, move the chair slightly back so that there's a little bit of space, especially if you have somebody who's a little bit taller who's going to be on the chair. So Natalie's going to come on in here and do a step down or a step up. And so the procedure, the mounting procedure, it may seem very overly formal, but there's a reason for all this. I want to maintain safety and the proper attitude towards this chair, so I don't want her to just jump up on top of the chair. So Natalie, I'd like you to push the pedal down with one foot. Now I've got both springs on number 4, which is the heaviest I can do on this chair. So as soon as the foot's on, I want you to put your hands down onto the seat, use your body weight to push the pedal down. That's a little bit of doing. And then the other foot also comes up on top of your pedal. Now, when you do this, you want to make sure that the other foot is not on the wooden frame. That is no man's land. So if the other foot is on top of the frame, as she pushes the pedal down, she could squish her own foot doing so. So when she's on, now pick one leg and that foot comes up on top of the chair seat. And at that point, hands on the wall, or if you have those handles, your hands are on the handles here. So notice that since she has to reach for the wall, there's a little bit of an angle here. Placement of the foot that's on the seat is important. I recommend myself putting this foot forward so that the toes are at the edge of the seat. Here's why. When you come up, so I'm going to have Natalie come on up, this maintains a better 90-degree angle on the knee. Notice where she is. At this height, this knee is at a nice 90-degree angle. Now, let me show you. Come on back down, and I want you to move this heel back to the rear edge or the front edge of your seat, as the case may be, because it's the front of the chair. Now, hands on the wall, very carefully, come on up. And here, notice that it provides a greater angle to the knee. Now, I'm not saying that if you break a 90-degree angle on the knee, it's going to instantly wreck her knee. However, especially if this is the first time that your client is doing this exercise, you might want to give a better angle on this knee. So come on back down. Move this foot up until the toes are just level with that edge. Okay. And then, hands on the wall, come on up. And then from this position, have your client just go up and down. Hands are on the wall, or at the very least, brushing the wall so that if anything happens, you can catch yourself. Now, what you're looking for is that the knee here is not wobbling back and forth. The foot that is on the pedal here is firmly on, because when this pedal comes up, this foot could rocket forward off of that pedal if she's not right on top. Now, I don't know if you can see it from the camera angle, but her foot is right on top of the ball. The foot is on, her toes are gripping that pedal. All right, and then she comes up and down. Now, at which point, after a certain point, why don't we have you switch legs just so you don't fatigue too much? Okay. And then, once you have your client up, try this. Very carefully, have your upper body more upright. And then, if your client feels like they're going to fall, all they have to do is just lean forward and grab the wall in order to save themselves. But the next level of challenge would be, can you go up and down while maintaining your spine perfectly upright? Good. And then, take your hands off the wall. Wonderful. Much harder. Natalie went into genie arms. That's the classical, traditional way in order to challenge yourself. So if your arms are off, right here. Now notice if she needs to grab that wall quickly, because she's not interleaved, she can really quickly grab onto that wall and therefore, quote unquote, save herself. All right, come on in. To dismount, hands go onto the seat. Foot comes up onto the pedal, and then you step off and very carefully ease that pedal off. That is your step up or step down facing this direction. Now, we're going to have Natalie do the side step up and step down. I do not recommend that you just jump on this on the side and just hop up. I would prefer if you got onto this the exact same way. So there's this continuity. You've got a reference point there. So I'm going to have Natalie step on the same way. One foot onto the pedal, hands on the seat, push down. And then the other foot goes onto the seat of the chair. Hands come up onto the wall and she lifts herself up. And at which point, I'd like for her to take her foot off the pedal and stand completely on the chair and then turn around and face the camera. At which point, here's what happens. The foot that's on the chair actually goes up into the corner closest to this edge. This other leg then comes down to the middle of the chair. Of course, you can change this a little bit depending on how tall your client is and how long their legs are. Now, why is that leg forward? Just as before, this leg, you want an angle forward here so that the hip doesn't bind up. So her hand is on the wall and she does a step down. That leg is turned out, this leg is slightly turned out, toe is on. She's postured up, and then once she's comfortable doing this a few times, you can take your hand off the wall, making sure that you can grab the wall at any time you want. This particular exercise is considered more difficult than the exercise when you're going straight forward and back, because you're working on a sagittal plane. Human beings are really wonderful at walking and running in this fashion. Anytime when you challenge somebody by putting the impetus or putting the force in any type of sideways direction, we're not good at that. We are really horrible at running quickly sideways, which is why when we see any type of sport where there's lots of lateral motion, like tennis, you see somebody going back and forth really quickly, we look at that in awe because we know instinctively how difficult that is. So therefore, this exercise coming up and down the side step up, is decidedly more difficult, but it also helps train all these deep hip intrinsics in this fashion.